Once upon a time, two neighboring villages were at war. The cause of the war was a dispute about farmland boundaries, which went into a full war. Both villages sent their young men into the battle to fight. There was another village called Oka, which was nearby to the warring villages, but it was not a part of the war. Esohe, a beautiful maiden, lived in Oka village. One day, she was making lunch for her family in the kitchen, which was behind the main house. She turned around and was shocked at what she saw. She saw an injured man who looked like he was coming back from war, standing at the entrance of her kitchen. She suspected that he was a warrior in the battle between the two kingdoms. She was frightened and wanted to scream, but she felt pity for him due to his wound. He told her that it wouldn't hurt her, but that he just wanted water to regain his strength so he can continue his journey to his village. She felt pity for him and knew that he wouldn't survive the journey as he looked badly injured and weak. So she first gave him water to drink, which he drank quickly like someone who has not seen water in days. Esohe knew that her parents would be back from the farm anytime soon, and they wouldn't be pleased to meet the warrior there. She also didn't want a passerby to see him, so as that could bring trouble to her family. She also knew that she couldn't let him go without treating him, as she was good with treating with herbs. So after cooking, she quickly took some of the food and placed them in a basket, and quickly guided him to another of her parents' farm. Her family had several farms, and this particular farm was not being cultivated that year as it was left to regain its nutrients. There was also a hut which her father built in the farm, where they temporarily stored some things during the planting season, and that was where Esohe took the warrior to stay. On getting there, she gave him the food she brought with him and quickly went into the bush in search of leaves to treat his wounds. She learned how to use herbs to treat from her mother, who was skilled in herbal medicine. She prepared the herbs into a drink and gave him to drink, and also placed some of the herbs on the wound for it to heal. She told him to stay there while he recovered and promised to come back to see him tomorrow and also bring food along with her. When Esohe got home, she didn't tell anyone about the warrior who she saved, but she kept it to herself. The next day, after her parents had gone to the farm, Esohe sneaked out of the compound to see the warrior in the farm hut. She took food and an old shirt which her father no longer wore to replace the warrior's blood-stained and tattered clothes. On getting there, she saw that the warrior was looking better and was able to speak at this point. She also prepared the herbs from the previous day and gave him to drink. Before she left, the warrior thanked her for taking care of him and told her that his name was Osage, and she also told him her name. From that day on, it became a routine for Esohe to visit Osage in the farm hut and also bring food for him. Seeing him made her excited every day, as she would eagerly finish her chores and wait for her parents to leave the house, and then she would sneak out. With time, they became friends. She told him stories about her life, the village, and what she heard about the war, but he didn't really speak much about himself. Other than the fact that his name was Osage and he was a warrior, she didn't really know much about him, but she was convinced that one day he would open up to her. Esohe had a friend called Itoan in the village. She and Itoan would regularly go to fetch water together and visit each other's house. But Itoan noticed that Esohe was rarely at home nowadays whenever she comes to visit. When she asked her, Esohe said that her parents sent her on an errand, and as she didn't want anyone to know about the warrior from the other village, as that could bring trouble to her family. One day, as Esohe was going to the farmhouse, Itoan silently followed her behind to find out where she normally goes to every day. When she got to the farmhouse, she saw that the warrior was there in the farmhouse. She was shocked to see him there, but she went back home. The next day, She confronted Esohe and asked her who the man was. Esohe was surprised that Itoan knew about Osaige, the warrior, and she had no choice but to tell her the truth about Osaige and how she helped him. 10 days passed after Osaige met Esohe. He decided to tell her about himself and where he was from. That day, while they were taking a stroll, he opened up to her and told her that he was a prince of Ota, one of the warring village. He told her of how he had to go to warrior with his people, as was expected of him as a leader. His father, the king, was mandated by tradition to lead the warriors to war, but his father was old, so he had to take his father's place. Esohe was shocked to hear that Osaige was a prince. Osaige told her that he had grown fond of her due to her kind heart and her beauty, and that he had decided to go back to the village, and that after the war was over, he would come back for her. Esohe was sad that he was leaving to go back to war, but was hopeful that he would come back for her. When she got home, she confided in Itoa, her friend, about what Osaige told her about being a prince and how he would come back for her. Itoa told her she was happy for her, but within her heart, she was angry and jealous of Esohe. When Itoa got home, she told her mother, and they devised a plan to steal Osaige from Esohe. The next day, Esohe could not go to the farm hut to see Osaige because her mother instructed her to go to the farm with her, as it was already harvest season and they needed to harvest all their corns. She begged Itoa to take food to Osaige just for that day, as she wouldn't be available to do so. Itoa was excited as she now had the opportunity to carry out her plan. She quickly took the food that Esohe gave her and mixed it with the herbal mixture that her mother had prepared. The herbal mixture was supposed to make anyone who eats it to lose their memory. On getting to the farmhouse, she introduced herself as Esohe's friend and told Osaige that Esohe told her to bring food for him as she was busy helping her parents in the farm that day. Osaige thanked her and collected the food from her and started eating. Itoa pretended to leave, but she went and hid behind the trees outside of the hut. After eating the food, Osaige felt a strong headache and fainted. When he woke up, he couldn't remember the events of the last month. He didn't remember going to war or even meeting Esohe. At that point, Itoa came out from hiding and pretended to be Esohe. She explained to Osaige how he went to war and how she saved him. She told her all the story, but replaced herself with Esohe, making it look like she was the one who did all the things that Esohe did. She told Osaige that he planned to return to his village that day, and that he promised her that he would take her along. Osaige believed her story, and they both went together to Osaige's kingdom, where he was a prince. When Esohe got back home that day from the farm, she went to Itoan's house to ask her if she was able to get the food to Osaige, but she couldn't find her at home. Itoan's mother told her that Itoan traveled to her grandmother's house. The next day, she went to the farm hut, but she didn't see Osaige. She thought he had gone back to his kingdom and felt sad that he'd left without seeing her first, but she went home feeling disappointed and sad. After 7 days, she was coming back from the farm one day when she saw Itoan's younger brother, who was a drunkard. She asked him if Itoan was back from her grandmother's house, but her brother started laughing. She felt that it was the influence of the alcohol that made him laugh, so she started walking away. After walking a few steps, the drunkard started talking about how Esohe was a beautiful woman and that she should stop waiting for Osaige. Esohe was shocked to hear that he knew of Osaige. The drunkard continued talking and said that Itoa was already married to Osaige, who was a prince, and that Esohe should give up because the prince doesn't remember Esohe anymore because of the herbal mixture that Itoa and her mother prepared. Esohe burst into tears at the betrayal of her friend. All this time, Osaige was not at peace. Itoa was living in the palace with him and his family although he had not gone to marry her yet. He was troubled because he was having strange dreams. In his dreams, he would see himself in the farm hut with another woman, but it wasn't Itoa. It was someone who he couldn't recognize. He didn't want to upset Itoa by asking her about the dream, so he kept it to himself. Meanwhile, Esohe was in her father's house, feeling depressed and crying every day for her lost love and her friend who betrayed her. She couldn't eat or smile, and nothing gave her joy, to the extent that her parents noticed the change in her behavior, but nobody knew what's wrong with her. One day, she woke up hungry. She decided she wasn't going to feel sorry for herself anymore, but she was going to fight for what was hers. She got dressed and set out to go to Prince Osage's kingdom. After traveling for hours, she finally arrived at the palace. Itoa was shocked to see her. Esohe quickly ran to where Itoa was and shouted angry at her, and this led into a quarrel. The noise of the quarreling caused the people in the palace to gather, and when the prince came out and saw Esohe, the memories of knowing her came rushing back to him, and he remembered all that she did for him and the love that they both shared. He also realized that Itoa had deceived him, and he was grateful that he had not married her yet. He quickly rushed to Esohe. He embraced her and apologized to her. Itoa was disgraced and set packing back to her village. The news about her evil deed spread, and she couldn't find the husband to marry. Esohe and Osage got married, and they lived in the palace as prince and princess, and later became queen and king, and they lived together happily. If you love this story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you, and see you next time.